Welcome into the mind of madness. This is our first episode of our new show, where I kind of take everybody through the mind of craziness. This is not a unique show idea. Two Clicks from KO and Mr. Clicksfix have run shows like this, but as a general rule, I try not to enforce any kind of build process, as it were, on the show. But instead of enforcing that, I'm just going to show you how I do it over the next couple weeks. I mean, there's not much time as it stands right now. August, it is currently the date of this episode is August 23rd. That means I have exactly 1 month until the ROC Canada Cup, which is Sunday, September 23rd in Whitby, Ontario at Comic Book Addiction at their new location. And one of the things I've been talking about is that I have no intention of attempting to bring. I want to avoid bringing the team that I know I've been most successful with recently, and that being my colossal monstrosity team. But at the same time, I do want to bring a team that is equal parts fun and competitive, and I want to bring people through that process. The things that I think about when I come across these teams and whatnot. Now, over the next couple weeks, I mean, we're gonna try to do as many episodes of this as I possibly can. It's gonna be more frequent than your regular show. It's also gonna be inconsistent as far as schedule is concerned. We have, like I said, a month to go until the event, and as a result, I kind of have to do as much pull as much of my thought process as I can, and I want to share it with you guys as much and it's as frequent as I possibly can. So, like I said, I have no idea how often we're going to do the show. I do know that I'm going to try to take this show beyond just this event, but this event itself, the process here is going to be what I focus on for the first little bit. Now, that being said, I do want to say a couple things about the show since this is a brand new show. Initially, I was going to ignore chat. I'm not going to ignore you guys in the chat. If you have any questions pertaining to where I end up at the end of the episode, we'll catch them in the chat if you're watching live. I'm going to try to address comments to the best of my ability. It's really hard sometimes to keep on top of that, and I apologize that I'm not better at that. I am trying to do my best here with lighting too, because one of the neat things is that when you have a 3-monitor setup, you have light in all directions, and I might just have to lose my glasses, to be brutally honest, for the first little bit before we kind of turn to the process. That works a little better. It's not much better, but anyway. That said, I'm gonna take people's thoughts, and what I'm going to try to do is, if I catch your idea in the chat, I'm going to explain why I either disagree with it or have no intention of doing that, or what my reasoning if I choose not to take the advice given in chat. I haven't decided how we're going to work with super chats yet. They're, of course, always appreciated as a little tip to the show. I'm doing what I do all the time with this particular show, is I'm making it up as I go. That's kind of how this all goes. But I do have a goal in mind. My goal in mind is to make a team that I'm comfortable playing, and at the same time have put major amounts of the thought process, as it were. Now, today's episode was originally going to focus on a smoke cloud team, an idea that Michael Fedor, one of our patrons, asked a question on the Meta Lab, and we kind of rolled with it for a little bit on the Meta Lab, but the direction it took me was not comfortable, because there's a couple things with the current metagame that we have to be aware of. One of which is that theme is currently dominating. The Cosmic theme team, my team was a monster theme team, and the X-Men theme teams are really kind of making a name for themselves. And one of the things we kind of have to be aware of is that the theme is a big portion of that. So if you're going to make a team that isn't a theme team, you have to be comfortable not winning map roll. That's kind of the thing. And that Smoke Cloud team that we were starting, like we started culminating all the figures with Smoke Cloud. Then I started looking at them all very carefully. And that map, if it isn't indoor and in tight quarters, as cool as you can get all that smoke out, it doesn't do anything in a wide open map. And the Blackbird will take you there and will punish you for it. There was a conversation trying to give everybody stealth. Necron the Back God had come up, but he comes to a third of the team, and then the rest of the team just wasn't strong enough. So long and short of it is, even though we mulled around the idea, I don't think it was powerful enough to compete, because when you think about the things that are there, what does it do against the X-Men team? Well, I pop a bunch of smoke clouds, and then I get close combated by Wolverine because the Blackbird doesn't care about anything for that matter. So I had to step away from that. What I'm going to try to do is avoid my monster team. And today I was thinking of starting with a character, and then I couldn't come up with a character I want to start with. So this is the thing that happens, and I'm kind of thinking out loud right now in the process, and it's what do I do? Where does it come from? Where do I start? And so on and so forth. Now, the show is going to flip between myself and HC Realms a lot. I'm going to start mulling around an idea, and then we'll take it to HC Realms, and we'll start messing with things, as it were. Now, I want to go over a couple things that we have to be aware of when we're building our even our funny team. If we want to play competitively, we have to know what we're going to come up against, and we have to be ready for the strongest possible teams. Now, the strongest possible teams in the current metagame, of course, are the Cosmic Theme team in many variations, but most notably, there will be something strong on there, along with a bunch of other things that are either stronger because of your something strong, or they're just super strong. Star Fox and Unimind, of course, dominating that decision there, and are often backed up by Lockjaw. And the team also consists of about 40 points of Groots. Not 40 points of Groots, of course, gives you 4 sidestepping, flurrying, shape-changing tough guys out there. So I do want to say hello to you guys who are in the chat. I will every so often, like I said, glance over there and kind of talk about this, talk to you guys as we go. Anyway, so what we have to be aware of is you have to be aware of the X-Men team. We have to be aware of the Cosmic team. The X-Men team, of course, is a swarm team that uses tight formations to do a ton of damage. So we have to think around that, be able to deal with teams that do that, and be able to deal with Colossal Retaliation as just a fundamental thing. Shredders exist as a thing as well. So I apologize. You're going to be interrupted by drinking every so often on this show because it is a one-man thing, and I can only keep talking for so long. All right. So now that I've talked at length about what we have to be aware of, let's kind of start to mull around some ideas on where we can go. And what I do often end up doing a lot of times is start with a joke team. And this time around, there is some directions I want to go, some directions I'm thinking about. And one of which, and honestly, I'm not going to lie, this one kind of just hit me because if you check the front page, the newly added list on HC Realms, I'm just going to quickly screen share that for a second. I've been talking about her a little bit, and Zatanna has shown up on here. I forgot she existed. And I know that I've been talking about her. So sometimes I look at something like this and I go, okay, what can I do with this? So the current process right now does involve clicking these keywords when you're in HC Realms. That is very nice and all, but we do have to keep it modern. So it's best to, this advanced search option on HC Realms can save you a lot of heartache because for one, you can limit the modern age only with it, your search. And then there's a lot of really cool vague search options here. And what I want to start with, because this happens a lot, so I want to take the generic keyword. Now, one of my rules for generic keywords, when I build with a generic keyword team right now, when you build a theme team that is a generic keyword, you have to accept the fact that you're not getting theme team prop. And because you don't get the theme team prop, you have to be ready to bring prop, and that is my number one rule on a non-named theme team is, can I get probability control? If it wasn't for the Goblin King, that monster team that I won the WKO with would not be a team that even would have shown up at an event with myself. Probability control is probably one of the most important powers for myself, maybe not for others. But probability control itself isn't necessarily the power that has to be there. There's a couple ways in which you can get probability control. One of which is, of course, the power. The other of which is alternative reroll things. So keep your eyes open for that. An example would be like the future Bruce Wayne, the Batman Beyond Bruce Wayne, would be a source of probability control that isn't probability control. The other source of probability control is attacking as many ways as you possibly can. And that could be flurries that don't count as actions towards your action total, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These are kinds of things that sometimes a power is a power without being a power. So as an example, for a while, I was speaking about the current state of the metagame as the flurry metagame. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're using flurry. What I'm referring to is throw as many possible attacks as you can. Flurry just happens to be the most notable, reasonable, usable, constantly existing source of it because characters have flurry. As an example, I considered my monster team a theme team because one of the main attackers, the 100-point Carnage, his goal was to attack 3 times at a turn, part of which was done with flurry. So attacking as many times as possible is what I consider a flurry strategy. Rerolling or attacking as many times as possible is also a probability control strategy. As long as you're making multiple attacks, it's kind of the way I go with it. Anyway, I did a weird thing. I took Zatanna and I clicked the celebrity keyword. Now, the reason I clicked the celebrity keyword is it's one of the 2 generic theme teams I can build with her, and she adds probability control to that. Now, the other one that she has, mystical, thematically, design-wise, etc., is generally what we like to call a glass cannon team. And what we mean by a glass cannon team is, and if those of you are unfamiliar with the terminology, it hits like a brick, but breaks like glass. It doesn't take much to break glass, and that's why when something's called a glass cannon, it hits hard. It can dish it out, but it can't take it. Is generally the idea behind that. Now, the mystical, of course, keyword does contain quite a few characters who fall under that. I'm going to address that next, as I do what I like to do first is start with the keyword and start my search to see if anything kind of triggers the creative juices. So I hit celebrity, and we have Mysterio, Dazzler, Longshot, Lila Cheney, Giant Girl, Fat Venus de Milo, Ms. Marvel, Cersei, TV's Spider-Man, TV's Daredevil. Like, we're not seeing a lot that's great. Karen Page is pretty good. She's got a really cool effect as well on her special movement power, if you can keep that going. Howard the Duck's got a neat effect. There are some characters that have neato things to them, but the other key thing you want to do is make sure you're able to do something with it. I've got the rare Joker here. He's cool, but I don't feel like he's strategically sound choice. The Gray Ghost is really cool, but again, doesn't feel like the source. Baby Doll is like, a lot of these are additions to the rule. Clayface does seem like a good centerpiece to the team, so I'll keep him under consideration. We go further. We have a Wonder Woman, neat. A Dale Suderman. Also, Dale Suderman's a funny one. There's a lot of times where I just want to use him, and I just can't bring myself to do it. Somehow World's Finest has still made it into the modern age. I guess there's a little bit of an update that kind of needs to happen on the HC Realms side, because HC Realms is no longer legal. Or sorry, not HC Realms. HC Realms is legal as much as it wants to be. World's Finest is what's not legal, along with Superman, Wonder Woman. So I do have to keep away from those. Dawn of Justice, I also think, has rotated out. So Joker's Wild as early as it gets. Wildcats. Celebrity doesn't look like it's got the punch I want from it. Muhammad Ali, oh man, there's a temptation here to use and make a team based around Muhammad Ali, but yeah, it's I'm gonna hold off the urge to do so. Okay, so celebrity isn't really kicking my creative juices right now. That's another thing, is you're gonna find I'm gonna say mine a lot, and I'm not gonna poo-poo anybody's ideas or directions. for this, but I am going to kind of base this on my own personal preferences and my own ideas and etc. So don't feel offended if you say, "Hey, there's something great here," and I kind of just walk away from it. Don't feel bad. It's just kind of the direction I'm going. Now, Mystical, on the other hand, we've got Shredder and the Shredder Illusion in here. Wow. Let's keep this in mind because the Shredder Illusion can be made by the Shredder, which is an awesome ability. I mean, it's gonna be 100 points, so that's 100 points right there. And then we add in Zatanna for some beef. We consider the idea of Scarface, but let's see what else Mystical is still packing in the current modern era. Mystical is a keyword that's just kind of always there. One thing I do wish we had was a Mystical Colossal Retaliator, because that would just be cool. But I think that is a thing we live without because Maridroid's not going to have it. Nothing in Avengers Defenders. There's a lot of figures in Avengers Defenders War, specifically a character whose name rhymes with Schmachter Schmange, but it's just not quite on that level. Though let's not negate the idea of a Mephisto just on the possibility. Like there's some good stuff with the Mystical keyword. It's Wiccan. Oh man. I just wish this defense wasn't this defense because one outwit and this guy is a puddle. So we move on now to the DC side of things where Mystical gets a little stronger. The weird I've seen being used, but I don't think he's illegal anymore. I don't have to double check that one. The new Hawkman and Hawkgirl are Mystical. We've talked about Zatanna already. We could use two different Zatannas in the same team. We can use this as Zatanna, and then the Bombshell Zatanna. Get some extra things like this Zatanna can get John Constantine the Rabbit, so you can get we can have 3 sources of prob on our Mystical team. So let's start to fiddle. So let's put Zatanna and Zatanna, 2 different Zatannas doing different, fundamentally similar things, but functionally different. This Zatanna is more focused on probability control and psychic blast, mind control type effects, while getting +2 attack from the bystander, but potentially bringing out the bystander for an additional source of probability control. I just caught that. Yes, Dormammu is a Mystical Retaliator, and isn't he? He is. Okay, so we do have Mystical Colossal Retaliation. Let's immediately consider that. He's got pretty high defense too, and his retaliation is really, really potent. Plus, he's also Mystics, so you can punish as well for it. Now we're up to 135 points, and we really just haven't added oomph to the team yet. So we do have to kind of look into the direction of what are we going to add for oomph. There is the obvious answer. Jakeem Thunder is the obvious answer because he's Jakeem Thunder. But we have to think about whether or not he'll survive in this current environment without some consistent form of healing. And then this also becomes a team I just don't want to play because I don't want to play Jakeem Thunder. So let's poo-poo that because again, we're into the mind of madness, not into the mind of rational thought. Sorry, I had to take a drink there. All right. Now this 40-point Raven is looking like an interesting choice. Probability control. So we're now doing what everybody tells me not to do, and I tell them to shush about anyway, and that is overdoing it with probability control. It's a dangerous ploy in the least, and let's see what I can come up with it. Right? Rational thought, again, not a thing I plan on using for the show, guys. So all right, so what's next? What direction do we want to go in next? Now I saw one idea, and I've seen this in action. It's okay, it's not great, and it is the idea of using this Green Lantern with this Dormammu, watch the Dormammu die, bring it back, wash, rinse, repeat. Cool idea, but something about it just doesn't pick up enough steam. Enchantress is interesting as a choice. I would consider it, but then it also forces me into a bubble strategy. So And because she's an enhancer support, she also has Perplex Mystics. It's not a bad idea. We'll keep her on the table in the meantime, but I'm Canadian, and Al Jordan has found his way into my team by accident. Now, if you look at where we stand right now, we're about 35 points short of a team. And this is where I kind of, before I put any further thought into it, I'd probably consider nope. I'm going to consider one of these JSA guys, probably Green Lantern for 35 points. Let's just put that on there for the sake of argument. All right, now where do I stand right now? I have 3 sources of prop. Raven is capable of making a character move in a way that I want. Plus, I can push her to get some healing should I need it. I got Al Jordan as a main force attacker. He's cool, but I don't think he's good enough in this case. Now, have I made a good enough team? Well, let's see. How would this fare against a cosmic team? Well, the cosmic team would hit me once and I would die because the Zatanna I'm using from Batman Animated Series dies in a single hit. And this is a team that's got Flurry at a long distance as well as up close. It's not a comforting thing. This Zatanna does have Mastermind, so she can survive a couple shots, but I don't have much to Mastermind to. I could Mastermind to Green Lantern, not ideal. I could Mastermind to Raven. Once again, not ideal because we're talking about Masterminding 4 to 5 damage. Ultimately, I think I've made a dud. I've made myself a dud. And that's not a problem. We do this. This is a Nito team. I mean, one thing worth noting is this Zatanna makes bats. No, it doesn't. Why does this Zatanna not make bats? I think you need the 75-point version to make bats now that I'm actually putting thought into it. So I've made it worse than I wanted it to. All right. Scrap it, guys. So that was fun. That was kind of my first inclination. It's like, hey, I saw a figure. Let's go with it, roll with it, see what happens. Not the worst team I've ever made in the world, but not the team I'm going to play. It was super, super squishy. And it literally represented that thing that makes me uncomfortable with the mystical team right now in the current game, and that is the glass cannon. Because unfortunately, there are tank cannons that exist in the current meta. Unimind is an example of a tank cannon. If you can get through his defensive powers, which is easier said than done 9 times out of 10, he does look and come off as a glass cannon, but he's only a glass cannon in a certain sense, and part of that certain sense is a character like Surtur attacking him for 5 damage, say. Like if you've managed to arrange that, you're probably playing my monster team. And we're trying to avoid that. All right, so that was fun. Now, I do not want to completely discount the characters on my monster team. Most importantly, I do want to talk about how really cool Surtur is. I'm going to be all over the place on the show, by the way, guys. So bear with again, I'm sharing my thought process. And this is why I called the show Into the Mind of Madness. All right. So let's talk about 25 points that can kill 165 points. And that being Surtur. Surtur, now, how do you do that? It's not with base stats. You do need boosts to this guy. One of the boosts you can get, of course, being, characters that can perplex or empower, because oddly enough, his Colossal Retaliation doesn't state or stipulate a replacement in his damage. So as a result, because he's making a close combat attack as normal, you can get things like Empower to trigger off of it. Neat, right? So let's go off of another keyword that Surtur has. I'm just going to add Surtur to my team. That's what I'm going to do because I like him. But oddly enough, Surtur is Asgardian, not Asgardian. I say that in the fact that comic book wise, he's not really Asgardian, but he does have the Asgardian keyword because he fights Asgardians and they just kind of tend to do that. So let me find the Asgardian keyword and look at this. Now, this is a team I've been wanting to consider for a while. And it starts with Thor Odinson. Now, Thor Odinson is 175 points of beef cake. Like, look at these stats. These stats are amazing. And he's a title character. Now, I wish they could find a way to make this look better. But the long and short of it is Thor's +1 ability allows him to make a range attack after making an attack. Not an unreasonable thing when you consider he's got the movement that he's got, the range that he's got with hypersonic. He doesn't have to hit with the first attack, which is pretty clutch for that matter. But his -1 when used with an Asgardian team is also not bad. And that is when he uses his -1 ability, you take away a plot point, and then you place adjacent another friendly character with the Asgardian keyword. If you do, heal both Thor, Odin's son, and that character 1 click. The heal is gravy on top of the move it across the board effect, because there's no size limitation on this. There's no other limitations on this, other than they have to have the Asgardian keyword. And I don't know if you noticed, but I have quite a few characters here with the Asgardian keyword. There's a Hulk with the Asgardian keyword. Now, granted, when we're already with Surtur and Thor Odin's son at 200 points, and the most viable option, I believe, for this is the common Captain America of the same set. Now, the reason at this is this Captain America is a number of reasons, all of which is his movement power. Charge, flurry, plasticity. Now, it's a charge and flurry with Blade's claws, so unfortunately I'd be relying on Blade's dice rolls. Not my finest moment, but still a thing. And it does leave me with 45 points. I've considered a couple things in here. Jane Foster is up for consideration, along with, I think it's Eric Masterson was the other one. But somehow he went without the Asgardian keyword. Such a shame. Oh, man. Oh, I wish he had that, because with 45 points, I think he's only like 15. He might be more. I might be mistaken. I am often mistaken. So my, Pedro, it was Goblin King at 75. Thanks, Emily. I'm talking to the chat. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so here we are with 45 points left over in an Asgardian-themed team. I'm just going to stop fighting with looking at it directly. I'm going to go ahead, and this is the beauty of the search here, is you can go Modern Age, Asgardian keyword, and then I can also limit on points. So we go points. Where are they? Point cost. You know what? Point cost is in the range of, we're going to go 25 to 45, just in case. So at that, we kind of get limited. I could use Ymir at 25 points. Oh, man, I want him to be better. Characters with energy explosion are better against him, but that's okay. This is a 25-point dial with power cosmic, which is cool. He's Colossal Retaliation, drops action tokens. It's because instead of normal damage, each hit character is given 2 action tokens that don't deal pushing damage. I don't want to spend 25 points on a Colossal Retaliator that is doing that. I'm uncomfortable with that. I'm very, very much so not comfortable with that. He does 4 damage. He's got an 8 range. He's got an 11 attack. He can absolutely obliterate another Colossal Retaliator. It's just, it's not quite there. So then we look around. We have the Warriors of Asgard. We have the 45-point Valkyrie, which could fill it up, and could possibly be bring out Warrior Souls, but not as consistently as, say, Hela. So what can this team do against the teams that are out there? Well, Thor can get a lead attack in on the X-Men, to say the least, and then follow up with another attack, or have Captain America join in the damage output. But I have these breathing moments of I wish this was so much better. It's just not quite like Lorelei would probably have to be included for Perplex because I would need that Captain America to have 3 damage with Flurry to for me to say yes, must do. Long and short of it, Thor Odinson was one direction I could have gone with Asgardian. It's a direction I ultimately have chosen not to go with multiple times. This is I apologize if you guys thought I was just gonna pop up with teams and see what's up. But okay, so I'm gonna take some ideas from the chat right now because for one I need to take a bit of a breather. I need to take a second to read it and see what's up. Now I see some good ideas here. One of which is Pedro wants me to revisit the Undead Demon team and kind of mingle it with my current monster team. So here's the funny thing is I'm gonna go straight to HC Realms again here and show you what that team looks like because it might look just a little bit familiar, guys. So we go to Mighty Thor, the Thor the Mighty, as it were, and this team starts. It's very familiar, guys. So don't be shocked in the least. It shouldn't be Mighty Thor. It should be Avengers. It starts with Avengers. Sorry, guys. I'm fumbling all over myself right now because I don't even remember what my own team was, right? Shame on me. Groot, 40 points. We follow that up with Surtur. So these are all parts of my original monster team that were there. Goblin King was still part of the team. Okay. Then we take Belphegor. I don't even know how to spell his name. I think it was Belphegor. And we add him. We do bring Carnage back, but not in the form that I had him. We go 10-point Carnage. And then we find our Dr. Frankensteins. And this is version 1.0. I'm going to zoom in on this here. This was version 1.0 of the Monster Theme team. So what I ended up doing was just increasing the size of Carnage. Now, why did I end up with the version I had? One of the big reasons is that Belphegor, while pumping out demons, the demons that he creates are giving up points. And if they're not in combat, they're basically worthless. By putting in the 100-point Carnage, I was able to come across the board and just be there with a ton of attacks all at once. Belphegor himself, let's look at because I like this guy, don't get me wrong. Charge blades and this special damage power, faster my minions. At the beginning of your turn, you may roll a d6 on a 4 to 5, remove an action token from each adjacent friendly character with the Demon Legion keyword, and then on a 6, remove an action token from all friendly characters with the Demon Legion keyword, and those characters can you sidestep this turn. As well, the Demon Legion power, they all live to serve me power. Generate a demon on click 2. If no friendly characters named demon is on the map, generate 2 instead. So first turn, you get 2 extra demons. What do demons do? And then before I get that, all the Demon Legion characters have this one. Power, deal Belphegor, or in the case of the demon, 1 unavoidable damage and heal an adjacent character with Demon Legion keyword 2 clicks of health. So here's what would happen. Turn 1, you bring out a demon, bring out 2 demons. And then let's pull out the demons here. So they're here, this dial right here. So what I would do then is take one of those demons, heal the other demon that came out, put him on this click, and the other demon is now on click 1, which comes with poison, possibly sidestep eventually. Running shot, willpower, but only if within 8 squares of Belphegor. Not an unreasonable possibility, but they're also a 30-point. Here's the thing that kept me from playing this team. The fact that they cost 30 points. That's giving up points with no gains. Now, if we go back to I have another team that I was using Belphegor with that I didn't mind giving up the points on, and maybe I'll address that here. But anyway, long and the short of it is there's not nearly enough damage coming out of this team, but there is a ton of board fill. So my opponent getting around me was damn near impossible, and I was definitely triggering Colossal Retaliations. But the problem is the Colossal Retaliations had to score significantly more in each situation, and I was coming across a lot of situations where I would lose more demons than I would be able to kill with the Colossal Retaliations that I want to kill. That's ultimately why the Carnage solution presented itself, and I said, you know what? Let's go with that. But I'm not against the idea of Belphegor as an option, because at one point I had Belphegor on a team with a young lady, and by young I mean not young at all, named Hela. Wow, Hela's name is found in Michelangelo. That's hilarious. Now this Hela is the one that makes warrior souls when you kill a non-bystander character. The unfortunate fact is Belphegor makes it 10 points too high to include 5 points too high in order to include Black Panther, who added to the output of characters that were going to be on the board, and Daredevil ended up becoming significantly more effective at it. Now, in the current state of where we are, Hela could easily be joined now by Roland, I don't remember his full name, Daggett. Because he's 35 points, and he's one of these Gotham City crime bosses. Very capable of making dudes, but he does still have to succeed on his leadership role. So he is not the fastest at making them. All right, so these are just all options that possibly could present themselves with Hela. But the problem with the Hela team, of course, is that they can score points and not take a single click of damage, because some certain teams can just completely outmaneuver the warrior soul tokens. Now, that's not really so much of a problem as you'd think, but it is a thing. All right, so let's look at the undead set and see what is interesting. We've already talked about Belphegor. Belphegor is cool, but the demons need a lot of help. So if we're going to start with a Belphegor base, I do want to also include Groot, just because we're obviously looking at a board fill situation. In Magic the Gathering, we call this a go wide strategy. So what do we need to make these things better? Well, in addition to trying to heal up, we need Dr. Frankenstein's. The reason I want Dr. Frankenstein's is to maintain healing. So with this strategy, like I said, we need to score. So we have two ways we can go. We can take sorry, I took a quick glance at the chat to see if I missed anything super important. We can try to make everything that we create super good. So the Groot tokens, make them extra good. Make the Belphegor demons super good. But that would require lots of empower, lots of perplex, and we need probability control. Now, I want to show you an unfortunate side effect of this keyword, and the reason I almost didn't play it. Where's Monster? Sorry, I should move this to a different screen. Give me a second. I'm just gonna screen share to a different screen on this one, because I'm trying to look past my microphone on the other screen there. All right. Oops, stop that. I just looked at the chat. I apologize, sir. There we go. All right, so let's get back to this. So keyword is going to be monster. The monster mesh. Monster. Modern age. Now we want to look for the damage power of probability control. We search. Now we come up with Zombie Abraham Lincoln, but only at 150 points. The Ghost of Abraham Lincoln at 125 points. Savante Ramiro, but not on click, not right off the bat. The 100-point Rat King, a little bit of a high investment. And unfortunately, this is no longer illegal. Rat King, Deadpool in the X-Force, Shikla gets it late dial. Venom Pool gets it mid dial. Craven gets it late dial. Are we seeing a trend here, guys? Joker's dial cannot be relied upon, and Lady Blaze is not legal. So you can tell now, probability control is difficult to come across. So that's kind of what makes Monster difficult. So if we go beyond that, and how do we get around that in some way, shape, or form? I think the best way to get around that is to throw as many attacks as I possibly can. Unfortunately, the demons don't fall under the autonomous strategy, which we come to another unfortunate element. And this is why, like, you're kind of watching what happened here. A lot of people are talking about your monster team, your monster team, your monster team. My monster team was good, okay, maybe, but it was because I had to base it on a certain number of decisions, right? I'll put the team on the screen so that everybody kind of comes to the same conclusion here, and we'll talk about it in depth. So we get Carnage. Now I played him at 100 points. I think that's 200 point Carnage, Jason. Played him at 100 points. We'll talk about why my decision got made the way it did. And then we have Goblin King. And of course, the war version I won with, we can't forget, also had a sideboard full of Super Friends. So now, if you want to know what made this monster team what it was, well, let's look at this. The current environment consists of a team that has the X-Men keyword and uses Wolverine. Now, I have lost against X-Men, but that player, one, outplayed the crap out of me in that game. Two, beat me at a point where I was very unaware of how to properly play the X-Men matchup. And also ended up getting second place at Canadian Nationals. So if I was to hindsight play it a different way, well, I'd probably more correctly pick a map and have a better advantage and probably play significantly better. Now, with the gift of hindsight, the second time I played this team through, we have to pay attention to a couple things. First of all, the two Groots each bring out 2 Walking Woods. And this is a +7 to the map roll team. So what ends up happening is I generally win map roll. I don't think I'd ever lost map roll with this team. So I've always played it in the Underground Cavern. And the Groots, with the Underground Cavern, Groots Walking Woods create a lot of thin hallways. As a result, they can't get anywhere without having to deal with the Walking Woods. And as a result, the Walking Woods force Colossal Retaliation, and I Colossal Retaliate intelligently enough, you can end up just kind of doing a ton of damage before Carnage even hits their team. When Carnage does hit their team, it's usually the late game, and there's not much of their team left when this team works. When it doesn't work, well, Carnage doesn't do that per se. Now, what this deals with in a nutshell, I got enough Perplex to attack a Unimind in a single attack and pop it. Because I can Perplex up Surtur's attack, damage twice, attack once, bring probability control with Goblin King, and that's how I would go forward with it. Sometimes you still have to deal with a 21 defense. A 13 against a 21 is still only an 8, does still need an 8, but with probability control, I'll get 2 shots at it. And they won't be able to use any defense powers. If I really need to, I believe if they haven't chosen Invincible, I can still trigger the retaliation extra damage on Surtur and pop still. and still be in a good condition to deal with the things that come off of the board, because I've killed the Unimind and I got a bunch of one-click characters to deal with now. Groots bring out more if they retaliate or attack other things. And the other thing that was great about this team is because so many of my characters are colossals, I can deal with other colossals fantastically well. I could colossal retaliate with Surtur with an 8 range. Surtur would colossal retaliate against one of their characters, and then he would make an attack because colossal retaliation is a free action against one of their other colossals, because colossal indifference doesn't trigger against another colossal. Anyway, long story short, a lot of people wondering why the monster team won. Like, so many questions about the monster team lately, and I just kind of wanted to address, like, it throws a lot of attacks is what it does. And it forces my opponent to have to get retaliated on. There have been times where I didn't immediately, people were able to get by my Walking Woods, but I still got wins off of a lot of those games. Like I said, the biggest problem game, I think I like, if I was to look back and say this is the game that was the biggest problem, it was the one I lost against Genji. The one I lost against Emily was 100%. I was outplayed because I made a massive error of judgment when chasing something down, and I shouldn't have. Pedro's got me in another direction though, and that is autonomous. And there's one dude specifically that I think does it best. That is Maxi Zeus. Because Maxi Zeus, this is not a progressive dial. This is actually a very terrible dial. But he's got this trait. Look on my works, ye mighty in despair. Give him a power action to generate a stone harpy bystander, maximum of 2. Now, Amber addressed to me something specific, and I do have to look it up again just to be sure she's absolutely correct. It's not that I don't trust her, it's that I need to be absolutely sure before I give information on this. But that max 2 could be very specific to this Maxi Zeus. So I'm not above the idea of using multiple Maxi Zeuses. On that note, he's also got this free generate a stone harpy bystander, but only in an adjacent square that's on the rim of elevated terrain. All right, so let's start with Maxi Zeus. Why? Because he is the most reliable autonomous character in the game right now. Excuse me, I'm drinking some energy drink here to keep me alive and going. So, hey guys, if you ever want to look for a sponsor. Anyway. So let's get back to where we were here. Maxi Zeus creates these autonomous stone. Let's just pull it up because this is going to be the only set that has them. Autonomous stone hoppies. This is the wrong attack symbol. This should be autonomous. And what autonomous means is they can take it can take a costed action, and it does not count towards your action total. So now, we're going to make a couple of assumptions here. And the first assumption is that Amber's ruling is correct, and I'm allowed to make 2 per Maxi Zeus. So let's start with that. Now, if I want to make a super autonomous team, I kind of want to stick in a single direction, and I either want to go Gotham City or Gotham City Underworld. Now, there's a reason for this, and this is a reason. The reason for this is a part of a conversation I had with Pedro, who's in the chat, kind of guiding me here. And that was that Gotham Underworld has an important character that can help me with my autonomous thing that isn't even from the correct set here. Yeah, I'm being a little cagey because I'm pulling up the super rare penguin. Now, why is the super rare penguin going to help me? For one, he's going to help my board flood because this is, as they say in Magic, a go wide strategy. Fill the board with a bunch of things. These penguins, their movements don't count towards my action total. All right, so it's not necessarily autonomous, but, and I put it away, didn't I? Like an adult. The new Iceberg Lounge map. Now, for those of you unaware, the Iceberg Lounge is a map that allows you to create bystanders. I think it's an additional 5 points in order to get those bystanders. What's more important is you get 2 of those bystanders if you happen to choose the map and you've paid the points for it. But if you happen to have the penguin on your team, that lets you get 4 of them. Yes, and it's a mostly water map. So, and all the ones that he creates have the dolphin symbol. So, awesome. All right. Now, the unfortunate fact is, going back to the Gotham City Underworld as a keyword, it does not come with Colossal Retaliators, nor does the Gotham City keyword, which these guys all are also able to use. Chad Aubrey's pointing out Pim Tank. You know what? I've dealt with the Pim Tank in the past. If this particular type of autonomous strategy spreads so far, so wide, and is capable of kind of individually targeting things, that it generally isn't a bother, to say the least. And you know, if I look at one particular piece and base my entire team on not playing it because of that one thing, one of the things I also have to consider is a local strategy and the teams that do use it. I am not going to get scared of teams that use the Pim Tank because there are already teams I should be afraid of. So I think they're X-Men. There's one version of the X-Men team that uses it, and there's a Unimind build that uses it. So I know it exists, but these types of go wide strategies can go so wide that even the losses you take from the Penguins or from the Pim Tank, just really ultimately not a problem. If I really, really desired to force the situation on my opponent, I throw this penguin in, the Fast Forces penguin. And what I can do is what I would need is another Batman enemy on my team. And we'll deal with that in a second. And what that would do is it would give me a character to share off of the penguin, and then we can just move things right across the dial with the penguins. So like get penguins up in the face of the Pim Tank and just deal with it from there. So I'm not going to let myself get scared off by Pim Tanks, but I do appreciate the input on that. Again, Pog strategies are something you'll know me for. I do it a ton, and I've come to grips with what does and does not hurt my feelings when it comes up. All right, so let's get back to where we were here. So we're kind of focusing autonomously. I do believe the Clock King might be super useful for the team. One of which he adds at wit. Second of which he puts those tokens around the board that really help you, one, control the map, or two, slow down your opponent. So I'm going to keep him in the pocket right now. I just want to see if there's any other autonomous characters that we can make functional use of with this keyword that we're running. I'm not seeing it though, but let's not give up on Gotham City as a keyword. So let's go back to this. Before I finish up, okay, so if I'm going with Clocking, I have to stick to Gotham City Underworld. If I'm not, I have to go with Gotham. I'm going to try Gotham City and see what we can work with from there. Now, Gotham City is not without its Batman enemies, so we should probably fill that slot in now, because sorry if you're going to be dealing with some flicking here, because I'm just trying to come up with a character with the Batman enemy team ability who is going to just kind of, you know what, there's always an easy way out, and that is in Joker's Wild. Let's just find a Batman enemy in Joker's Wild. I'm sure there's one here, but not with the Gotham City keyword, of course. Nope. Guys, I may have made a mistake here. So I do have to stick with Gotham City Underworld. Batman and his greatest foes. Now it's the Joker's Wild. Fast Forces. Batman. Okay. All right. So I will have to stick with Gotham City Underworld as a keyword to get that particular strategy off. Now, the easiest way to do this and the cheapest way to do it is this Harley Quinn. But the title Harley Quinn is so much cooler and adds to our autonomous strategy. Why does she add to the autonomous strategy? Because her tokens that she creates at her end game ability are autonomous, oddly enough. All right. Now, herein lies a couple problems that we have to try to come up with a solution for. One of which is Maxi Zeus does have a little bit of an issue with the stone harpies. They're not super mobile, and Maxi Zeus is not super mobile either. It's really hard to place these things where we want. So that is something we need to, without a shadow of a doubt, be aware of. And of course, the problem with that is I think there's one character who flies with this keyword. Because I don't even think Kite Man. No, sorry. I stand corrected. Kite Man. We're going to throw a couple Kite Man on the team. Why are we throwing a couple Kite Man on the team? First of all, Kite Man, hell yeah. But he also adds the ability to carry multiple characters. We're going to need this. This is something we're going to need because Maxi Zeus needs to be moved around, and the Stone Harpies are not precluded from being carried. That's an important element we need to be aware of. Is you can carry the Stone Harpies, and as a result, can really pull off some neat tricks in that effect. So right now we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters, all Gotham City Underworld. So what do we need now? We need leadership because this team isn't going anywhere. Hey, Roland Daggett, welcome back to the conversation. Roland Daggett will also add suited henchmen to the general populace. And I believe those can carry each other with the Underworld key. What is it? Passenger 1, but only to carry a character that shares a keyword. Passenger 2, but only to carry a character that shares a keyword with this character and are low points. Okay. So, all right. So we have 30 more points with which to deal with. I have a few options here. I can try to force a few ID cards, but I don't think anybody on this team is calling anybody in. It's it's not going to be great. With the points that we have, and the other thing too is we don't have Clock King yet. So I kind of want to get Clock King in, but I also don't want this to be a completely campaign. Anyway, I just babbled off nothing there. So, how do we get Clock King on our team? We take a hit, we drop a Kite Man, add a Kite King. Now we have 5 points for an ID card, and I think in this situation, I can comfortably choose. This is a hard one because I think Harley Quinn's the only one that would be able to call like a Wolverine. Also, just for those of the more budget-minded, Maxi Zeus is an uncommon, so not super terrible price-wise. The Penguin is a super rare, but not an expensive one. I think he's sitting at the $10 mark recently. This Penguin is part of a Fast Forces. Harley Quinn, I think she went up to $20 recently, but don't quote me on that. She might still be a 10. Kite Man is a rare, but not an expensive rare. Roland Daggett is uncommon. Clock King is a prime uncommon. So then I think the ID card that I use and the call-in that I call in with it are going to be probably the most expensive parts of my team. Now, so my decision here is, do I go with the Clock King? Is he adding what I need to the team? Is he a liability or is he worth it? These are a couple of questions I have to ask myself with this team. Of course, this map is definitely the Penguin map. Do use the Iceberg Lounge for this one for sure. The other option, I could start with the suited henchman, but he won't add to. Oh, he will add to the keyword, isn't he? That count for or against the theme team? Oh, why can't he count for a theme team, guys? Come on. Bunch of jerks. I could start with that, or I could go with the ID card. The ID card will just be a. This comes the hard part. I don't have the Joker ID, unfortunately, so that's off the table temporarily. I do have all of the other Arkham ones, I believe. Do we have Two-Face? Poison Ivy? Amber's giving me a look like she has no idea. So we come down to, what ID card do we use? Well, what does our team do? What does our team need? Our team could probably make effective use of Professor X, but the only person who could call that in is Harley Quinn. Oh, no, wait. I got to spend 5 points on the map. Never mind. Almost forgot to pay for my map. So, yes, 5 points on the map. So the map is paid for. That is everything. That is the team. But I have no sideline. Guess what we get to do? Now, here comes the most expensive part of my team. This is not the must-have for the team. This is, I take my word for it. We do not need this, but we get to add some super friends to the team. Now, we are an autonomously focused team, so it goes without saying, Aquaman is going on this team. Also on this team, I'm going to add Hawk Girl because the average bird, don't believe this, is autonomous. After this, we have to look at what we need. One of the things we definitely need is probability control. This team has it. And I believe if the rules for probability control have remained the same, if Roland Daggett can pull off some leadership roles and I drop some dudes out on the board, I've got 5-point characters who can prop. I have to double check that one to be sure. Anyway, Firestorm is a must put if you're using the Super Friend strategy, I personally believe, because he adds probability control. I'm going to say Green Lantern. So Aquaman, Hawkgirl, Firestorm, Green. Ultimately, I think it's an easier point to. By the way, ignore the points right now. We are done with points because the last 5 points have to be spent on the Penguin Lounge. So the Penguins Lounge does have to take the cake. I have 12 options for Super Friends, but I can only use 9 of them because the sideline limitation is 9 characters on this. I want to point out the suited henchmen for Roland Daggett don't take a sideline spot. They are from outside of the game. And neither, of course, are the bystander tokens that are coming out of these dudes. So that said, we look at this and we go, what are we not going to use? I personally don't think I'm 50-50 on Robin for this team. For one, Robin does add Perplex, but he is such a point-based liability. And right now, we don't have a whole lot of liability coming from our bystanders. Our bystanders are free. So I tend to want to limit some of the liability that are coming from things. We've discussed this, guys. The 5 points are being paid for the map. We know. Love you guys. Appreciate everybody pointing it out. Is the map only 5 points? I have to check that now. Give me a second. I apologize for dead air here. I didn't happen to put the map anywhere nearby, did I? Probably not. apologize. I left the team up there for everybody, so I apologize for the brief moment of silence there. I had to make sure the map is only 5 points because that would really screw up the whole strategy. And Emily did mention in the chat, it is only 5. This is not the right map either. Yes, okay, it is only 5. Okay. Anyway, so what we have to point out as far as this team is concerned, right now we're going to start with 4 extra characters that we're not looking at. Let's just so 4 extra characters. Roland Daggett to bring leadership, to add actions that we probably don't need. The Penguin, because we needed the extra guys, and to add more penguins. Like this strategy is so wide, like it's almost gross. Now here comes the big thing that we need to question, and that is in regards to Maxi Zeus. And that question is there any elevated terrain to capitalize on? Because if there is not, we might be wasting our time with a couple of things here. So we checked the Penguins Lounge. All right, big bonus. There is some elevated terrain. There is one part that looks like elevated terrain, but is not. So be careful of that, kids. That's just a red carpet. So there's one area of elevated terrain in the middle here. Now, so that means we have to ask ourselves, is our opponent going to give us this terrain? Okay, guys, you see this team across from you. Which side of the map do you take? I'm going to let you guys think about that for a second. Let you guys think about that. Which side of this map do you take if you see the team that I'm playing right now? And because I put it on air, that answer actually becomes 9 times out of 10 problematic. So there is elevated terrain, but capitalizing on Maxi Zeus and the Kite Man is tricky, but not impossible. What I end up having to do is I end up having to force, and this is why we put Clock King on the team, force them out of the place that I don't want them to be in, you know? So this is one of the reasons we put Clock King on the team. Clock King doesn't need a line of fire to where he puts his tokens. So, all right. So let's ask ourselves a couple questions, because this is the important part of this team and why we're building this team. What strategies do we have that work against the teams that we know of right now? Well, we know that Maxi Zeus and the Penguin are creating free dudes, and the free dudes add a lot of attacks on the table. And the more attacks we can get out on the table, the more we can do damage to the Wolverines on the X-Men team or whatever's out there. So that is a bonus. Always, also, if this is a strategy, if you're looking at this team and you're interested in using it, Maxi Zeus's Harpies should always be acting. ABA, always be acting, because you want action tokens on them so that they can push themselves with their actions that don't count towards actions counts in order to get things working. Anyway, we have the Penguins with the ability to do penetrating damage when they need to, possibly putting Wolverines on their stop clicks and just kind of slowing down some of the pressure there, or forcing Wolverines to take actions they don't necessarily want to be taking. The Fast Forces Penguin, not only does the Fast Forces Penguin add to the tempo of the Penguins themselves, he also adds to attack values of whatever I want if I happen to hit that Penguin with whoever's targeting him. Not an unreasonable thing given that Penguin's particular defenses and the attack value that you're sharing with the Penguin that you want to be sharing with to do that action. And, you know, it is not unheard of to send that Super Penguin across the board with like a 12-13 attack to just do a ton of damage to something. I could almost seeing it just absolutely brutalizing a Blackbird. That's comedy, kids. That's the kind of comedy you get out of a team like this. Harley Quinn, of course, will probably be the most likely person to be taking the action with the Fast Force Penguin, because we don't want her taking damage when we're using our +2 Perplexus. Roland Daggett will be adding bodies to the table unless I absolutely need a leadership role to be fired off. Clock King kind of forces some level positioning, also adds some outwit. Roland Daggett can also protect himself using bystanders in any degree. So the long and the short of it is, this is an overwhelming team, but the problem teams I'm going to have with it are going to be Unimind teams. They're going to be difficult to deal with. One thing that might catch people off guard, I'm not concerned about Lockjaw with this team. And the reason I'm not concerned about Lockjaw is I get a ton of attacks with this team. And it would not be unheard of for this team to be able to deal with a Lockjaw or a Joker, just on sheer numbers of attacks, just because of that. So that's kind of, I mean, that's making one base assumption. I can pull off some hits. I do get 5 theme team probability controls, but that is it. So that is a nervousness that I'm going to have to deal with. Kite Man, you're going to be pushing a lot with that. I just feel like Kite Man's going to be the one who's taking the prop a lot. But yeah, I'm going to be comfortably willing to test this team for sure. I'll see how it ends up going in that matter. And then I'm going to now move into the which Super Friends am I not going to use portion of the show. And when I do that, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, desires, suggestions, we're going to address them at the end, and we'll open up the table for the end of the show for that. But let's talk about the Super Friends thing. So what Super Friends am I not going to want to use? I am it. Okay, the Atom is my 9 times out of 10 not going to use. And I'm kind of sit there with, like, I'm making a lot of noises in regards to it, and that's how it kind of looks right now. Is I'm not 100% sold on the Atom and anything that he does for this team. So Atom is very likely a cut right now. If Superman was better and more reliable on making the hit, I'd probably be using him a little bit more frequently. But I think I do enough in the realm of close combat with this team to not facilitate his need, because part of his need is stealth busting in a nutshell. So that's 2 of them gone. So the other one I would cut. I would probably cut. See, in this case, I'm between Green Lantern and Hawkman. I think ultimately I'd keep Green Lantern because enhancement is great, telekinesis is great, and running shot pulse wave on the late dial could go a long way. So I think I'd end up keeping him. So I'd probably not. I'd probably not use Hawkman. Hawkgirl, because, let's stick with the theme of the autonomous characters, use as many as we can. Aquaman is a must-have because, like we said, we're using autonomous characters. If we're gonna go all in, we're going all in on it. Oh, by the way, wrestling fans, I am not all in. That's in Chicago, kids. Come on now. Just get that question out of the way now. So let's talk about what we have as our final final decision, not solution. Oh my God, that's a terrible choice of word, Jason. So 2 Maxi Zeuses to create Stone Harpies. These guys are on the cusp of cutting. And along with no, I'll probably keep Kite Man. But Maxi Zeus is cool. His tokens are cool. But our strategy does hedge a little bit on the idea of using the iceberg map, which is where they'll be the only place where they'll be super functional is not the greatest place. So, cutting room floor, but not necessarily on the floor yet. The Penguin is a must-have because we need a decent character named Penguin, and the Penguin tokens and the potential on them is massive. Harley Quinn is a really cool perplexer. This is the title Harley. Hopefully she doesn't die, but if she does, so be it. She brings a number of things to the table, one of which is super important is her energy explosion. That's something I forgot to mention. She can really disrupt the formation of the X-Men team because she can energy explode with +3 attack. And then her -6. Oh man, her -6, adding the extra Harleys to the table. If you drop her with a Kite Man with that ability and just watch the fun happen, because you get D6 Harley bystanders with a minimum of 2. So at least 4 attacks come out of her. That would be, I mean, getting 3 of those guys would be mayhem as it is. Roland Daggett for leadership, as well as the ability to bring things and possibly to give in a tight spot some additional shape change to a character, and Clock King to force positioning. So that's kind of the goal here. My Super Friends sideline is without Hawkman, without Adam, and without Superman. So yeah, that's the team in a nutshell. I do want to ask what people think. What are your thoughts while we're here on the chat? If you're watching in the archive, I want to see the comments. I do value people's opinions on this, even though I probably don't take good. I'm very bad at taking good advice. This is why I'm here. It's to show people that I'm very bad at decision making, and I should not be in charge of myself when it comes to making teams. We're going to take a last call. Any questions, any comments, any input on the chat? And just say that this has been actually a lot of fun. This has been one day in the process. I'm going to try and do this again tomorrow, assuming I can get my workout time in. If I can't get my workout time in, I will not do it tomorrow. I do try to get 1 hour on the exercise bike. And today I got interrupted because one of my sons was giving me a hard time today about eating. So I had to fight with him on that one. So that's why I didn't get a chance to do that today. I do want to get that done tomorrow and then do this as well. So I'll be a little bit more sweaty, even though I'm sweating my butt off because it warmed up a little bit today and we've got to keep the air conditioner on. And I got all sweaty. Anyway, I want to hear what everybody thought about the show. I did enjoy doing it. I will enjoy doing future episodes. So this is version 1 of the team I'm going to try in for the ROC Canada Cup. I'm going to see how it ends up and see if there are any possible. We either build upon this or this gets scrapped by the time you see me tomorrow. I have to come up. My practice is not really practice. It's running a lot of numbers. So I'm probably lying when it says I'm going to get some practice, but I do have to look at how it's going to fare against certain things. I do know that a well-placed tank is going to get in my face, so I do know that Pim tanks have to die immediately with this team. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If I see a Pim tank, it goes. And there's other things I have to address with this as well. And I can't believe this side of the map matters big time because I'm spending 5 points on the map. Anyway, it's been a pleasure doing this, guys. And we're going to move to the comments. I'm starting to get some now. I'm going to see if anybody dropped a what's up on Facebook. And then we will be on with our. Okay, Facebook, you're being silly. You're saying I have no notifications, but you got a notification on notification bell here. Come on, man. I turned off ad block for you just to see pictures, so give me a break. All right. So now you're just being a jerk. Now you're being a jerk, Facebook. All right. Let's see if this gets me. I'm gonna have to phone it. Literally phone it in. See what I did there. Maybe somebody made a comment and then deleted it. That tends to happen a lot. No, just people liking it. Into the Mind of Madness. All right. Click 6 has a comment. Says, great team. I love it. It was awesome seeing the process because mine is very similar. So I know I'm on the winning track. Now on to practice. It's not necessarily a winning track. If you're thinking like me, you were thinking like a madman. This is why I call this Into the Mind of Madness. So do be aware you are thinking like a psychopath, and that's not necessarily a good thing. All right, and Pedro Roca says he loved this style. A more boring version would remove the Maxi Zeus and getting Joker 42 from Batman the Animated Series for more leadership and survivability, but less autonomous ownage. We said we were going to go all in on autonomous, and when I say we're going all in, we're going all in. Oh yeah, Emily, I also noticed Facebook is beginning a little bit more glitchy if you have an ad block on. I paused my ad block and everything started working again. So thanks for that, Facebook. They've also been I'm going to take a second to Greg and share something with you guys. I absolutely hate that Facebook takes our fan page and forces us to pay for people to see it. Like, if you guys like the fan page, you should just like the fan page and get the information we send you. It's ridiculous that Facebook tries to paywall that stuff. Emily, how much elevated do you need on the map? If you look closely at it, most of it is blocking. It's hard to see. Okay. The reason I mentioned elevated is because Maxi Zeus can make additional stone harpies for free if he's making it on the edge of hindering terrain. That means the iceberg becomes the only elevated terrain on that map that is super useful. But of course, the 5-point map is part of the team. So we're invested in that map to a certain degree to keep the autonomous thing going. Happy little Heroclix. I just got home and missed everything up until now, but I'm sure it'll be great. Cross-channel crazy team fight over Roll20. Honestly, if I had the time, I'd say sure, why not? But I can't guarantee. My schedule is so crazy that the only time I actually have scheduled things is when I'm at work and when I'm on the Meta Lab. Those are the only things that are scheduled in my life, to say the least. So everything is made up and the points don't matter. Even Heroclix tournaments, like, they're kind of scheduled, but I don't plan on them. But I will take a second to once again show you the team that we came up with in my first episode of Into the Mind of Madness. It is a double Maxi Zeus, the Penguin Super Rare, the Fast Force Penguin, Harley Quinn, Kite Man, Roland Daggett, and a Clock King, along with a sideline complement of Super Friends, subtracting 3 of them, and 5 points to spend on the Penguins Lounge map, or the Iceberg Lounge map. So it's a neat idea. I'm going to give it a try, see how it rolls. If it doesn't roll, it doesn't roll, and I go on to the next idea, which I will talk about tomorrow. This will be a maybe. We'll put this on a hard maybe and see what we come up with in the future. At some point, I'm hoping we start to realize that I feel like I'm at a point where my collection is solid enough that nothing I'm missing is problematic. Anyway, I've gone on enough. I feel like I'm dragging on the episode, and I really don't need to. We'll carry on tomorrow, assuming everything goes well, my evening tomorrow when I get home from work, and we will talk about things I've come up with for this team, or problems I may have come up with for this team, and other glorious things that we may or may not have to deal with. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for watching live and your input. I much appreciated it. And ever so often, you guys are filling in spaces that I missed. So thank you guys very much. I want to thank everybody who's watching in the archive. Your support is greatly wonderful. We do appreciate anybody's support. If you join us at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks, that is a great way to support us directly. To kind of open your wallet up a little bit. If you're watching this with the ad block off, we appreciate you as well. We appreciate your love. What else? Check out majesticccg.com /apex-insiders, where every so often I share stuff like this with you guys, and how I come up with ideas, or just ridiculous ideas, or general big picture things. And so tomorrow I will talk to you about another. We'll come up with another idea, see what I'll think of it from there, and just kind of carry on with this whole thing. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're watching like I said, if you're watching the archived or not live, I want to see in comments your thoughts, opinions, input, because this is a new format. We're trying a brand new thing. So I want to hear as much as I can from you guys. And this is one of the harder shows for myself, for sure, because it's only the one voice. So, all right. Anyway, guys, have a good night. And thank you for joining my descent into madness.